All right, let's get right into it. We're going to tackle a huge question today, one that's really at the heart of our entire economy. In capitalism, for you to win, does someone else have to lose? I mean, really think about that for a second. Is every single transaction, every business deal, every time you get a promotion, is it all just one big fight where you're trying to grab a bigger slice of a limited pie? It's a powerful idea, and a lot of the time it sure feels true. But to really get to the bottom of it, we need to understand two key concepts.
Okay, so on one side, you've got zero-sum games. A great way to think about this is a game of poker, right? The amount of money on the table is fixed. It's set. For you to win $1, somebody else at that table absolutely must lose $1. Simple. But then, on the other side, you have positive-sum games. And this is where things get interesting, because here, the pie itself can actually grow. It's totally possible for everyone to walk away with more than they started with. So the big question is, which kind of game is capitalism?
Well, if you ask most economists, they'll tell you that, on the whole, capitalism is really designed to grow that economic pie. So let's dig into that idea, and we're going to start with the most basic economic interaction there is, just a simple trade. It all starts with something called voluntary exchange. Let's say you want a loaf of bread more than you want the $3 in your pocket. Meanwhile, the baker, well, she wants your $3 more than she wants that loaf of bread. So when you make the trade, it's not just an equal swap. You both walk away feeling better off. You both win. And in that tiny little moment, brand new value was created out of thin air for both of you.
Okay, now let's scale that simple idea way up. The whole system of capitalism encourages people to invest in new technologies and better ways of doing things, innovation. This means we can create more stuff, more cars, more phones, more food, all with less effort and fewer resources than before. This isn't just shuffling wealth around, it's creating new wealth. It's fundamentally making that entire economic pie bigger.
And when you look at it over the long term, the result is, well, it's absolutely staggering. If capitalism were just a zero-sum game, the average person today would be no richer than a medieval peasant, right? Wealth would just be passed around. But that's not at all what happened. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, the total amount of wealth on this planet has just skyrocketed. The pie has gotten unimaginably bigger.
So, if all of that is true, why doesn't it always feel that way? Why does trying to get a job, or competing for a promotion, or running a business so often feel like this brutal, winner-take-all fight for scraps? Well, that brings us to the other side of the story. It's because while the overall game might be about growing the pie, that big game is filled with tons of smaller games that are all about how we slice it up. And believe me, those games can be fiercely zero-sum. And we see these zero-sum battles playing out everywhere. You see it when companies are fighting tooth and nail for market share, when people are competing for limited resources, when we're all chasing social status, or even in the super fast-paced world of financial trading. I mean, just think about the classic cola wars, Coke versus Pepsi. In a market where pretty much everyone who's going to drink soda already does, the game completely changes. For Coke to gain one more customer, it's almost certain that Pepsi has to lose one. That right there is a direct, one-for-one, zero-sum fight.
And it's even clearer when you're talking about something like real estate. There's only one beachfront house at that specific address. There's only one corner office with that exact view. So when a bunch of people want it, it becomes a pure zero-sum contest. One person gets it, and everybody else who wanted it loses out. End of story. So, how on earth do we put these two realities together? This idea that the pie is always growing, but at the same time we're constantly fighting over the slices? Well, it turns out they're both true. They're just happening at different levels. So here's maybe the best way to think about it. At the macro level, we're talking the big picture of the global economy over decades. Capitalism is a positive-sum game. It's all about growing the pie. But when you zoom way into the micro level, the day-to-day competition for a specific job or a customer, it's often a whole series of zero-sum games, and that's all about slicing the pie. So here it is, the crucial point of all this. That relentless zero-sum competition for market share, for customers, for resources, that's the very engine that drives the innovation and the efficiency that makes the entire system positive-sum in the long run. The intense fight for the slices is what forces everyone to figure out new ways to make the whole pie bigger. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought, doesn't it? We're all living inside this weird dual system. So the real question for every one of us is, how do you balance these two games? How do you navigate a world that asks you to compete like crazy to get your slice, while also working with others to make sure the whole pie keeps on growing? Thanks so much for joining me.